Hello and welcome to Today in Space. We're actually recording this inside of the AG3D printing lab right now because we are in full production for the Starship pens that we're working on. So there's been a lot of different changes since even just the last episode. We've iterated so much since then, and we got far enough that we were comfortable with just letting them loose. So a few updates for the pen itself. We actually moved away from printing it on the FDM printer. Part of the reason was each pen was going to take like 14 hours with that super fine 0.2 millimeter nozzle. So the great thing about that is that once it's off the printer, it doesn't need to be painted. It's just silver and it's ready to go. But with production and being able to turn these around and not have to charge you guys an arm and a leg for these things, we actually ended up going back to resin. And just to give you a comparison, the FDM printer with the filament would have taken 14, and we could print 10 of these pens at a time, and it would take 7 hours to print. So a huge difference. You know, the resin printing is a little bit more difficult, so and it involves cleaning the resin off, and you've got to gear up, you got to wear gloves, you've got to have a mask on, and I've got that all set up, and our lab's ready for that, but it is an extra step. But the time savings and how quickly we're going to be able to do these is, 7 hours for 10 of them is way better. So that is awesome. We're going to be sharing so much more here as we get ready to release these on ag3dprinting.etsy.com and our Etsy store, and that should help it so that most folks around the world will be able to access this and get some kind of shipping. If you run into any issues, just email us at todayinspacepodcast@gmail.com, ag3d.engineering@gmail.com. Either of those, you can reach out to us. But yeah, lots of projects. Lots of progress with the Starship Pen, and we're really looking forward to launch. So we'll share more on that soon. If you guys have any questions about it, if you'd like to learn more about how we're doing this, or kind of the design process, we are going to do a video on our YouTube page for AG3D that's going to be a little bit more around the process of like bringing an idea into reality, from like a concept to design to manufacturing and then making it into a product. So yeah, lots of cool stuff. If you have any questions about that, if you're looking to do a project yourself, reach out to us. That's what we do here in this lab. AG3D, hit us up, whether for whatever it is that you're looking to do. Free quotes, and we're happy to chat with you and see if there's a project we can work on together. Father's Day is right around the corner, and you haven't gotten your dad anything yet. But don't worry, that's where the sponsor of today's show, Manscaped, comes in. You and I both know he needs some serious grooming in his life, so grab your dad or husband the Performance Package 4.0, and he'll thank you for helping him tame his beast. It's a win-win situation for both mom and dad, or dad and dad. Get the man in your life something for Father's Day. Manscaped.com. Use code word SPACE for 20% off and free shipping. The Lawnmower 4.0 is one of the great trimmers that's out there. You can even get it a little bit wet in the shower and use it pretty much everywhere. The LED light is fantastic, 4000K spotlight, so you can actually see where you're shaving. And it's got that ceramic blade so that it has less of a chance of nicking your skin, especially the sensitive skin. There's the Weed Whacker 2.0, which is your nose and ear trimmer for the dad in your life. And there's also amazing products like the cologne, the crop mop, ball wipes, crop preserver, ball toner, and crop preserver ball deodorant. But there's also stuff for other parts of the body, just like the beard. If your dad's a beard guy, the best tool that I have right now for my grooming is the Beard Hedger Pro. And the Beard Hedger Pro kit is amazing. It comes with everything you need to groom your beard. It's one of my favorite products from Manscaped. And the great thing about it is you've got 20 different lengths on one tool, and you have one of those plastic clips. And the Pro Kit comes with a brush and beard oil and beard balm and a comb that I use for all the hair on my head and on my face. It's really comes with some great stuff. It's got a great travel pack, so a great thing for the dad in your life. Code word SPACE, 20% off and free shipping, and there's still time to get it for the dad in your life. So code word SPACE, manscaped.com. Get your dad something nice. And that's it, folks. Let's get back to the show. For this podcast, there's a lot of times where I will have something planned. I'll have a structure. I'll be like, yeah, we're going to do it this way, and I'm going to be so good, and I'm going to plan ahead of time, and it's not going to take that much time. And then space events just happen, and they completely take over my thought process. So we're going to do another episode where we're going to cover the stories from May and kind of stuff I want to pick out. I gather these things all the time throughout the day as I get alerts and as I'm looking stuff up for space. So, there's a lot of times where it just kind of, there's just so much going on that it's hard to keep up with it. So this is one of those weeks where I'm going to take another week to do that and instead talk about some of the latest stuff. Like the Rocket Ship Pen is something I'm spending a ton of time on. The other thing that happened last week since the last episode is the NASA panel that live streamed for about 4 hours. About 30 minutes of it was them breaking for lunch, but there was a 4-hour meeting with a bunch of individuals and experts, cosmologists, astrophysicists, astronauts. Scott Kelly was on this board there, and data scientists. There's someone from the FAA. There was as they stated, a recovering lawyer. So there was a lot of different folks on this panel for UAPs, or as most people know it, UFOs. And aliens and unidentified flying objects or unidentified anomalous phenomena, it's something that is super exciting, and we here, myself, I'll speak for myself here, I of course would love to find out if there was alien life out there in the universe. So I was definitely interested in, while I'm sitting in traffic going to work during the week, listening to this first discussion. Now, don't get me wrong, it was extremely dry. And, it's kind of something anyone who works in a STEM field who has to gather data or do a report on something and present data or evidence to back up the decision that you're trying to have people make as a team. In this case, NASA is being tasked with being able to analyze the unknown, right? Something that NASA does very well. That's part, going into the unknown is the reason why we went to the moon in the first place. It's the reason why we have the New Horizons spacecraft that flew by Pluto. It's the reason why we have all the rovers on Mars, and we're trying to see if there was life there. We found definitely evidence of water. And then the next question is, are we finding life? And so it actually isn't that far of a stretch, and this was kind of what they were saying at the beginning of this UAP meeting, was that, this is something that is well suited for NASA. Now, a few things came up in this. I do want to do like a quick review of it in a future episode here. So what I want to do right now is ask you your thoughts. I want to know, have you been following this? Did you even hear that NASA did this meeting? Are you into the UAP topic? Are you interested in the search for life out there? Do you think that this stuff is a scam? Like, I'm interested in all the different ways. If you're a listener of the show, we talk about space. To me, if Carl Sagan was alive right now, he would be on this panel, and it would be so fascinating to have him, the author of Contact, right? A very influential book, a book that I'm finally, listening to, because reading books is very difficult for me. And I have a lot of time in traffic to kill. So I've been going through Contact for the first time as an adult. I've seen parts of the movie that was made, but, was I really aware of what I was watching? No. So, I've been getting into it. I've been wanting to do an episode on alien life and my thoughts, and also ask questions of you guys and share that as well. So what I'd like to do right now, like I just said, tell us what you think. Hit us up on social media. Today in Space Podcast. at gmail.com is our email. Today in Space Pod on Instagram and Twitter. Today in Space on TikTok, and our Facebook page, which is growing rapidly thanks to the Facebook reels that are hitting out there of our Space in a Minutes. We're almost at 1,000 followers there, so that's amazing. But you can check us out, Today in Space Podcast, on Facebook. And yeah, we want to know what you think. I know I talk with a lot of y'all in DMs on like Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that. So let us know. We want to share that on the episode. If you want to share your thoughts, please hit us up. And let's get into this UAP topic. I think two of the takeaways that I'll share from that 4-hour investigation is there's NASA and then there's Arrow. And Arrow is the arm of the government that's been tasked with breaking down the classified documents that go through. And the big distinguisher here on classified information and the UAP sightings that we've seen from that have been leaked out of the military and confirmed and all that, if an F-35 strike fighter, right, the advanced next generation fighter jet that the U.S. has, if that takes a picture or a video of something, it's classified, even if it's, they said the Statue of Liberty was one of the things that they said. If it's, it's not the Statue of Liberty is classified, but if the instruments, the metadata that comes with whatever video you're taking or you're showing how the system actually reads it, that's classified because we don't want to share secrets about how the F-35's system works or what's the HUD displaying. All these types of things. It's an interesting aside to part of the reason why it's been tough for this stuff to surface, although I'm not convinced that's the whole story. Regardless, that's one aspect, the classified nature. Arrow is the one that's parsing that out and sharing a wide scope of that information and then passing it and sharing it with NASA, who is going to be doing the public aspect of it. And more specifically, NASA is trying to figure out how in the public domain we can gather data of these sightings, but also develop instruments that are calibrated for observing these UAP. And one interesting thing that came up in this first meeting is the potential of using all of our cell phones and having apps, potentially sensors. There's a bunch of things that these phones are sensing. If there can be, let's just say, some app that gets distributed to the community where people can become citizen scientists whenever there's a UAP and point their cell phones, point their cameras, take sound, location to basically ping and tell a whole bunch of other people, hey, there's this thing out there that we're looking at, point your phones at this, here's where it is, let's all gather data. And the meeting was so dry because they were talking about the data. They were talking about what good data is. And as someone who's done this exercise in my day job, in a more professional level, and I've also done it in academia, through my getting my STEM degree, it was really good to see. And it was very interesting to hear the different thought processes. I like seeing the scientific process in action. And granted, it's just the first meeting, and we didn't hear from everybody, but we did hear from some people, and it's good to hear people just scientifically discussing the possibilities and the things that could trip us up and make us think that we're observing something that actually isn't there or is just due to the way things are being, taken data-wise. So do I think there's going to be any crazy revelations right away? No. But this is all, if this is going to actually be successful and this data gathering and all this stuff, having good data is huge. So I liked where it was going. Apparently the public is going to get more involved in this, so we will definitely try and get involved in this and share thoughts and potentially ideas and see if we can ask questions to this committee. I think it's a really interesting opportunity to explore the unknown and use the scientific method and thinking in order to do so, and the fact that it's in a public forum, I really like. So we live in a very strange world, folks, and I like seeing scientists start to take some leadership, even if it was thrust upon them, so with the responsibility. It's nice to see NASA do this and do it in such a public way. So I am excited to learn more. I'm sure there'll be plenty of conspiracy theorists who are upset, and there's going to be just as many scientific folk who are going to be upset, because there is definitely a stigma in the scientific-minded folk about, a definitive that we're alone, which I think is we don't know. Just as it's scientific to say I don't know, the answer to the question, is there life out there, is to say it is no definitively. I don't believe that's scientific. So there's an opinion, and can you tell I'm hard nosed on one side of the issue? I'm on the issue of the possibility, unless it's extremely clear that it is 100%, or that there's nothing, or zero chance that there's anything. Most things in life are never zero. So the search for life, I have never been someone to shy away and say that that is not possible. But I also want to use a scientific approach to deal with my obvious bias of wanting that to be true. So very exciting times. Please let me know what you think. And let's close this thing out. Right, our next sponsor is Caldera Lab. Caldera Lab is here to help men get really good skincare without having to have all those extra things that get added in there that just end up making our skin more sensitive, which means we don't end up using it. And Caldera Lab has really high quality products that I've been using for a while here, and it's really made a big difference in my life. So for Father's Day, whether you're looking to get it for your father, or maybe your husband, or whoever it might be, that's the father in your life, Caldera Lab has some great stuff. So code word space, calderalab.com, and check out all the products that are there. For me, I've been using the base layer and the good and the clean slate, and those have been part of my routine. And I could definitely tell that my skin is doing a lot better, and I feel better, which is one of the biggest reasons why you would do it in the first place. This is about mental health. It's about doing what's good for you. Don't go and buy your dad another tie. He's not going to use it. It's going to sit in there. But do dads even wear ties anymore? I don't know. But get him something that he's going to actually use. All the stuff is simple. It's a nice premium product. Glass cases, jars for everything, and they hold up. And they're not super flashy, and it's also simple instructions. So for Father's Day, or just for yourself, to take care of yourself, go to calderalab.com. Use our code word space. Get 20% off the premium products that are there, and get started. I'd highly recommend it. calderalab.com. Use code word space, or calderalab.com/space. Thanks for being a sponsor, Caldera Lab. Now let's get back to the show. So we've talked a lot, about artificial intelligence, AI, and from the approach of, I'm not a computer programmer. I'm not someone who is I've never prompted really any kind of AI until this year, as we've started to explore this idea and see, with all the huge promises of what it's going to bring compared to the doom and gloom of what's out there. I really do think there's a lot in the middle that we don't even know, and without using AI, how can I have any kind of an opinion on it? And it's scientific to want to explore and see it for yourself, run an experiment. That's what I've been doing this year. I've been testing out different forms of AI. The first one I started using is called otter.ai. We run every podcast through that, the audio, and then it pulls together the transcript. It gives me takeaways and timestamps to the episodes, and so you'll see at the bottom of every episode, or we try to have it on every episode, because it is very time consuming. Otter.ai has helped me do that passively in the background and take a lot of that work out from me having to listen to myself multiple times. That's not good for my mental health. So it's nice to have AI as something that I can use to balance the madness of creating a podcast like this, where most of the time it's just me. Then we've used AI to like generate images. I'm trying to remember the name. It was another OpenAI product. I found out about Midjourney recently, which I'm going to investigate, but I haven't used it yet. And there's also some like YouTube apps that I use for putting stuff out that had, as they said, AI generated titles, and I even had it write a description once for the episode using keywords. And there's a lot of really interesting uses for it. And for me, I'm using AI, or trying to use AI, in ways that's either allowing me to spend more time on the creative things and less time on some of the mundane things that take time and actually suck the energy of wanting to be creative. It just makes it harder to manage that kind of creative flow for something like this podcast and designing and 3D printing. Those things for me are very creative. And so the less that I have to do that's analytical in those times, the better. So I can spend that brain power doing something else. The other thing is that I tried recently was ChatGPT for the first time. And I didn't jump in fully on the hype for ChatGPT because honestly I didn't understand it yet. That is when I went on the journey of talking to people like James Menard, and we had plenty of other folks here on the podcast. The guys at Machina Labs are using AI so that they can metal sheet form with those two giant robotic arms. And you had Kevin Kelly from the CEO of Arcfield, who was talking to us about AI and how it could be used in space and in life, and some of the dangers potentially of AI overpopulating in creation on the internet. And is the internet infrastructure even built to handle the kind of creative output that AI will be able to do at scale? Definitely a really great thought experiment. But for me, for ChatGPT, I've been trying to figure out what I wanted to work on so that I could prompt properly. And honestly, I didn't even know what that meant, right? With something like ChatGPT, people can, and a lot of these AIs, it's about what you're inputting as a prompt to the computer, to the AI, that is the better that you can prompt or speak to it in a way that it understands, or that you can get the most out of what you're looking for, is really the key for a lot of this stuff. And so for me, thinking about the future, a lot of this is going to be people who are great prompters, people who can communicate with the AI, and maybe in some cases against it. So I started prompting about a project that I've been working on that there are big gaps in my knowledge on software and programming. Even though I've done it before, in college I helped make basically a paperless app for chemistry labs and bio labs for kids in my college that would make it so that professors could just have everything go through. Everyone could just bring their cell phone, they'll load up the app and the lesson, and they'll go into the lab. Instead of having all the paper write-outs, we would just have the entire app do all of that, and then you can have the whole submission through there. So that way, there's an even more streamlined process. Now, I'm sure nowadays, this was back in 2010, so I'm sure nowadays there's probably more of this, but we definitely jumped the gun. None of us were computer science majors, and I think it actually pissed their department off that we chose this beforehand. But I went all in on that, and I learned how to code on Apple, and I got a developer's license, and I was using Xcode, and I was using a mixture of different programming languages. But I was basically just, at a big picture, trying to understand what I was doing with the app and then finding chunks, templates to put in place, and then just figuring out ways to get it to demonstrate. I wanted to get an app on a phone as soon as possible, and we did. We got multiple iterations on the phone. We got to simulate it in the lab process, and show what could be done, so that way, like, a CS team could actually do it, right? Computer science team could actually program it and make it work, but we could show the design, right? We could show the application of it, which has become what my true science is the application of it, whether it's 3D printing or communication here at the podcast. But nonetheless, I digress. ChatGPT. So one of the projects I've been wanting to work on is, I have multiple food allergies that I have to balance and cook all my meals so that I feel healthy and not constantly feeling like I'm dying. But managing that is definitely a big task, and I'm lucky that I'm not the only one that has to do that. But definitely the planning of multiple food allergies for two people, one that doesn't have food allergies, is a challenge. And I have been trying to. What I wanted to do was do something similar and build basically a Raspberry Pi based recipe organizer that'll also output the things that we need, right? A list to buy food and all these different aspects, go through the recipes that we've been gathering over the years, and just like be able to plan the week, select the recipe, and know what you need to buy and just go get it. You can even check what you have, these types of things. So it's a project that I ran into my lack of programming skills and just kind of like some basic understanding of how to actually build a system like that. So I asked ChatGPT, and it was really fascinating. I mean, I'll go through the prompts at another time, but what I realized was at the beginning, first of all, ChatGPT output a very nice top-down, simple, like, multiple step, and each step was like basically a paragraph, but it was essentially telling me the different parts of this system that I'm trying to build, this food planner and recipe exporter for food allergies. And it did it so fast, and then I realized, wow, okay, we can go to a next step real quickly. And then I was asking specifics. What I was trying to do was have ChatGPT start to build some of this code for me that I don't understand. But then I realized that I was kind of just going further in my understanding. It would be able to show me what it was, and then I would be able to look at the list and say, oh, I don't know that. Can you tell me more? And so we went back and forth a few times, and each time more and more info. And then eventually I realized it was giving me big picture ways so that I could do it, basically giving me a list of things I needed to do and some direction. And then when I asked it to actually build some of the structure and even like a web application for this planner, it actually started to do it. And granted, it didn't do much, but it set up a lot of the initial stuff, a lot of the stuff that I just don't have the knowledge for, but I have enough knowledge to know what I don't know. So then I could just ask for next steps. And I think we're at the point where I'm going to be able to start building this Raspberry Pi based system for my house so that it can be kind of our local server here to run this and take a lot of this extra mundane work out of us. And so we can just be more creative, right? Okay, this is what we want to eat. We'll just pick those, boop, boop, boop. Now we've got the list, instead of like spending a lot of time thinking about it, because it does take a lot of time. And so now I'll be able to start building this and have ChatGPT as like my TA, or like someone I can just keep asking questions when I hit a bump in the road or a rut, like I'm losing progress because I don't know what to do next. That is the power in progress as a creative person or someone in a project. Is the real limitation becomes your understanding of how to ask the question and not about the topic itself. And that seems extremely powerful, and it took 30 minutes of my life to do that. Maybe not even that long. I mean, I copy and pasted like everything that we said back and forth, so that we'll be able to talk about it, later when the project comes together. But it was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to testing out more AI and sharing it with you guys in case you're interested, because I love to know from you and learn from you. If you're actually into this, please let us know. Hit us up, and let us know what you're prompting and building. And if you're not into this and you're just trying to understand it a little bit more or hear an example of how it's being used, we'll definitely be sharing that. So that's it for me, folks. Episode 311. Thanks for joining us. And as you can probably hear in the background here, we are 3D printing. And what you're hearing, that's the filament printer. And we're actually printing a Hexatube, as we're calling it. But it is it's going to be the holder of the Starship Pen. It's going to be able to go on your desk. It can stand vertically. It's got a knurled cap with our logo on the end, and there is a Starship logo and some hexagon tiles that are the same shape as the heat tiles on Starship. So we're pulling out all the stops. There will be a Today in Space patch sticker in there, and we're gonna pack it full of stuff, guys. If you want to support us, that is going to be the best way to support us, my designs, and really the podcast, right? So if you guys have been looking for a way to support us, whether it's been through sponsors or whatever, this is it. This is it, folks. This is if I could ask for your help on anything, it's helping us sell all these Starship pens. So they will be out soon. We will let you know when it's done. We'll keep 3D printing in the meantime, and we hope you have a good one. So spread love and spread science. Be well, and we'll see you on the next episode of Today in Space. See ya.